All right, what's up, my brothers? Well, Justin Trudeau and his Canadian Parliament is at it again. They are stealing more rights from law-abiding Canadians, if I can put it that way, as the title suggests. I'm going to play you a quick video here on what's going on. Canada has just banned another 324 firearms, and, well, the minister has an announcement here, so let's play it. It's a quick 50 seconds long and react to it.
Today, the government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms to the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately. This means these firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada, and can only be transferred or transported under extremely limited circumstances. As part of that process, the government of Canada has committed to the Ukrainian government to identify whether some of these guns could be donated to support the fight for democracy in Ukraine.
All right, guys. Well, Justin Trudeau is at it again. You know, last year he made an announcement and banned a series of firearms that many law-abiding Canadians have held for many, many years and enjoyed for sporting reasons, and they were handguns. We have three categories of guns here in Canada, so I'll break them down for you before we dive right down this rabbit hole, but we have non-restricted, restricted, and prohibited. See that there? I'm a possessions and acquisitions licensed firearm holder. I'm not going to pull out the whole license, but I've had that license for a good 12, 15 years now. And the three categories that you can get licensed in, the non-restricted are basically long guns. So anything that's long, semi-automatic, can be used for sporting clays, out in farmers' fields, dealing with varmint, coyotes, anything that might be harassing, your livestock, and just for sporting use, for target shooting and just for general fun and pleasure, because, a lot of guys like guns. They're fun. I was joking with some friends the other day. I'm like, what's next? Trudeau wants to take away anything else that's fun for us, like exotic cars. He's kind of doing that with a luxury tax, which was introduced a few years ago, which put a premium tax on any vehicle over $100,000. Wasn't always luxury cars, by the way, because a dually diesel pickup truck that hauls horses and cattle is well over $100,000. So it's penalizing more than just anybody that likes fast cars. Back to the guns, though. So we've got non-restricted, which is long guns. We've got restricted, which are handguns, short guns. All restricted firearms you cannot buy or sell or transfer anymore. The federal government has taken that a specific area of pleasure away from guys that have that. I never bothered getting my restricted firearms license when I took my test, simply because I saw the licensing requirements for it as so draconian and ridiculous. I didn't see the point in owning a handgun. As fun as they are, like I have friends that live in Florida, they can conceal carry, they throw their gun in the glove box if they're in Texas. You kind of have a lot more freedom down there. But as in Canada, with a restricted firearm, a handgun more specifically, if I were to transport it, I need to have a membership at a range, and I can transport it locked in my car with the ammo locked in a separate box, but I have to go from my house and to the range and then back to my house and then lock it back up in the safe. Technically, it's illegal if I were to drive with that handgun locked in my trunk to go to the range and stop at the grocery store to get a bag of milk. That's technically considered breaking the law. So that's why I didn't really bother with a handgun. I didn't really see the point. You can't carry them. You can't use them for self-defense. The only place you can really use them for is shooting in the range. You couldn't bring a sidearm or a pistol if you were in a national park or a forest for self-defense against bears or anything like that. They're really pretty useless and always have been pretty useless if you follow the law in Canada. So I didn't bother with that. And they've, of course, got prohibited, which is what, the police, the military and stuff like that use, which are generally larger capacity magazines, either semi or fully automatic, but the public can't buy those. So those are the three categories. The federal government has essentially stolen the right for any law-abiding Canadian to own a restricted firearm, so handgun. So that's been taken off the table as of last year. The argument that the Trudeau government uses, there's a lot of gun crimes and blah, blah, blah. And anytime some wacko commits a crime and shoots up a school or an area here or something like that, he uses that as an opportunity to pass a new bill in Parliament and essentially steal everybody's rights and then prohibits them. Even though every single gun crime and every police department echoes this, has always been committed with black market firearms. They're either imported from the States or some other nefarious way, but they're not registered. They're not licensed gun owners that are committing these crimes. They are black market, and they always have been black market, but they punish law-abiding Canadians. So the next thing that's happened just recently, as you saw in this video, the federal government has listed 324 more, they call them assault style firearms, which are in the non-restricted category, which, by the way, I looked at the list, a full 50% of the guns that I have in my safe are on that list. So what's going to happen? Well, apparently I won't be able to use them anymore after next year. I don't know if they have a buyback program. One of them actually I bought 2 months ago. And then this minister is now saying, well, we're going to basically confiscate them and prohibit new sales of these, transfers, inheritance, and all these sorts of things. And we're going to send them over to that dancing monkey over in Ukraine. I'm going to have my editor put up a video of that clown doing his little dance. You know, I'm sure you've all seen it by now, where he's shaking his torso. But the Canadian government wants to send it over, Justine wants to send it over to his pal Zelensky over in Ukraine, which is absurd. I mean, every male of fighting age has either left Ukraine or been drafted in the military and either died or still fighting in it. But it's really a pointless war at this point. They're not going to win it. They're continuing it. You know, this proxy war has been going on for a while. All they've been doing is sending money, tools, and resources over to them to fight something that isn't going to win. I don't really care about proxy wars. People go, well, what do you think about Ukraine and Russia? What do you think about Israel and Palestine? It's like, I don't care. We have more problems here in our own backyard that we're not tending to. We've got ridiculous inflation. The price of gas has gone up by a third in the last few years. People can't afford to buy groceries. I'm seeing stories of people in the media now that are skipping meals because they can't afford to buy food at this point. But Justin Trudeau, who a lot of people say is Fidel Castro bastard son, I'll have my editor put up an image side by side of Trudeau and Castro. You know, you guys can judge for yourself. A lot of people have seen this already. Is prioritizing stealing more of our own personal property and giving it away to somebody else. It's unbelievable. This ongoing nonsense in Canada is just absolutely absurd, and getting to the point where it's like, why are we allowing this? Why are the opposition not voting to push through a non-confidence and have an election to get rid of this clown? And that's on part because a lot of the opposition is under the puppetry and control of the Liberal Party, the NDP, which is led by Jagmeet Singh, which I've talked about before. I met with him many times face-to-face many years ago, about 12 years ago, when we were lobbying a specific bill. I think it was Bill 55 in Parliament. And, you know, all of these political parties, they don't care about your rights, your freedom. What they care about is manufacturing these stories about fear-mongering. Oh no, firearms are so dangerous. We all know what happens. I mean, we've seen this in other countries, and history teaches us these lessons. What happens when the government takes your firearms from you? You know, the United States and Switzerland, by the way, are the two most armed countries in the world. Actually, in Switzerland, it's almost encouraged, or it's almost like a law where you have to have, or you have to keep your firearm, because everybody serves in the military, and a lot of them enjoy it, and they, you know, go through annual tests to make sure that their scopes are all zeroed in and they know what they're all doing. I mean, the gun that I bought a couple months ago, I barely even zeroed in the scope. Like, I put a few rounds down range and sort of played around with it and figured it out, and it's like, I haven't even really used it yet, and they already are going to take it away from you. And it's like, there's a lot of Canadians out there, not the vast majority of them. I mean, the people that don't have guns far outnumber those that do, but the ones that do, they're like, you know, I'm in the discussion forums and I'm in the Facebook groups, and they're saying things like, oh yeah, you know, I had that boating accident in the summertime. I really don't know where they are. Like, they're already, you know, pushing back and saying, yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to enforce this at this point. And it's a very, very interesting predicament. You know, we have an election in the calendar scheduled for fall of 2025. So I think it's October-ish of 2025. And we've already seen in media pieces, you know, some of the feedback from Donald Trump, president-elect, with his recent meeting with Justin Trudeau. He went down to Mar-a-Lago, and there's a lot of memes and stuff that went up. There was one in particular my editor will put up on the screen of Donald Trump standing on a mountain with a Canadian flag looking basically north, the phrase or the catch, "Oh Canada." So, you know, a lot of people on social media were like, yes, annex Canada, you know, do us a favor sort of thing. But that is the unnatural state of the dictatorship that is going on here. A lot of people say, Rich, just leave, why don't you go? I mean, I've said this many times, I've got obligations here that I have to tend to for the next few years before I have that opportunity, but it is certainly looking more and more appealing, and a higher probability, in fact, a certainty at this point, the way things are going. Even if a different government comes in, let's say the Conservatives get elected in. And even if it's a majority government and they can pass any laws they want, they could do whatever they want without any sort of restriction with the opposition stopping them from doing it. I don't see them lowering tax rates. They might reduce or slash back on the carbon taxes. That's the other thing that's ticked off a lot of Canadians. Is part of the reason why the cost of so much has gone up with inflation is because Trudeau's, he's got this idea or this imaginary boogeyman about climate threats and global warming. And, here I am in December, the 7th right now, and all the land around me, you can see it over my shoulder is covered in snow. Where is the global warming? Because when I was a kid, it was very, very rare to have a white Christmas, and here we are with a white Christmas. So if we're having global warming, I don't know anything about it. But that's where we are. It's like make up stories about these boogeymans, pass laws, and it's like, we saw what happened with the truckers, with the lockdowns, freezing their bank accounts, canceling their insurance. We're seeing what's happening with law-abiding citizens that have firearms for use of protection of their livestock and their land or for sporting uses and stuff like that. There's been no instance that I'm aware of, and I looked it up, of any firearm owner, licensed firearm owner that's committed any crime in the last few decades. It's always been black market stuff. And that's the other thing too, we have a lot of gun crime here in Toronto, and every couple of nights basically something happens. Like the other night in Brampton, there was a couple of guys that pulled up in front of people that were getting out of the car and shot them dead. I don't know what they did to deserve it. They obviously pissed off somebody. But again, all of these crimes are being committed with black market firearms. It's not licensed firearms owners that are doing anything. And it's like, the laws here are so draconian. You can't even use firearms to protect your property. We don't have castle laws here in Canada. If somebody breaks in your house and you use a firearm to defend yourself, you're probably going to jail. You're almost definitely going to jail, in fact. Even if you use something like a knife, a hammer, if you use anything to defend yourself, Canadian laws are so ridiculous that there's a very, very high probability that you're going to go and spend some time behind bars for defending your own property. That's what Canada has become. So you guys chop it up in the comment. I want to hear some feedback from y'all and see what you think. But that's just another bold statement, a recent announcement from the federal government that they're confiscating 320, or they're prohibiting 324 more guns. And by the way, guys, these aren't fully automatic. These aren't large magazine capacity type guns. Like one of the ones that's on the list is a pistol caliber, so a 9mm caliber long rifle, Smith & Wesson, and it's a pistol cartridge basically. So it's universal to go from the long gun to a handgun that they sell in the same caliber, which, I mean, you can't really give that to the military to use. Like, they don't have the range. Like a pistol caliber rifled long gun isn't really that useful for range. That's what doesn't make sense to me. It's like, why would you take these guns and then say you're going to give them to the Ukrainian military when they're pretty much useless? The Ukrainian military, or any military fighting a war, needs a rifle caliber round, 7.62, 5.56, 223, something like that, that's got some range, that's got some accuracy, and some hitting power. A 9mm is going to drop after, 100 yards, 200 yards is it's not very accurate, if I can put it that way. Anybody that's done any shooting. It's more for fun, it's more for sporting, it's more for targets. But that's, fun is no longer allowed in Canada. It used to be fun here in the wintertime. We did all kinds of fun stuff, fun in the summertime. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of years, if we still deal with a Liberal government, they're going to take away fast cars from us. It's like, they already put the luxury tax on it. What's next? Oh, we're going to prohibit anything that's got over a certain amount of horsepower or whatever. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Chop it up. Pin in the top link, bunch of useful stuff that you should check out. See you guys later. Peace.
I don't ever slow up. No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you want to play tough and want to hate this, I'll always show up.